Hi, my name is Georgia, and in this video tutorial we're going to see how we can create a coffee recommendation service using Microsoft Azure Machine Learning Studio and the datasets provided. Click the link and download the datasets. After you have downloaded the datasets, go to studio.azureml.net and log in using your credentials. You should see this screen after you've logged in. Click and go to My Experiments. Here we can see the main screen of Azure Machine Learning Studio. Here are some experiments I've created. Go to Datasets on the left pane and upload the 3 datasets included in the link. To upload a new dataset, click New. From Local File, choose the file to upload and make sure you have generic CSV file with a header as the name. I won't upload any files since I have already uploaded my datasets. After you have completed uploading all 3 datasets, go to Experiments to create a new experiment. Here you can create a new experiment. You can choose a lot in the gallery and find something similar, or you can create a blank experiment, and this is what we're going to choose. You can give it a name here. We're going to call it the Coffee House Recommender. On the left pane, you can see all the modules. You can drag and drop here. Here is the workspace. On the right, you can see the properties. Right now, since we haven't had any modules inserted in the workspace, we can see the properties of the project. Go to the left pane, open Saved Datasets, and find My Datasets. You can find the coffee house ratings and drag and drop it inside the workspace, the feature data, and the customer data. I'm going to put it in this order right here, which is the order I'm going to be using them. To visualize the dataset, you can click on it, go to the dataset menu, and click Visualize. And here you can see the data for that module. Here we have user IDs, place IDs, and the rating. We should have only one combination per row. So we can have a user rate multiple places, but we shouldn't have two ratings for the same place by the same user. Here we have the customer data. The customer data are attributes of the customer: where they live, if they smoke, how they drink, how they dress, what's the preferred means of transport, etc. And we have the coffee house feature data. The feature data are data about the coffee house. For example, of course, the location, the name, the city, state, and some other attributes, the accessibility, price, the URL. So right now we're going to add the split data module. The split data module splits data splits one dataset to 2. To connect 2 modules, you drag and drop from this dot to this dot. Okay, by clicking on a module, we can see the properties. Here we're going to choose a recommender split. and it gives them some fraction of the data. To fine-tune those values, we can experiment, or we can have a data scientist look at this depending on our data. For the rest of the data sets, we won't split the data, we just have to select some columns. To do that, we use the select column tab. Select columns module. We select columns in datasets. I'm going to drag it here twice, and then connect each dataset to the select column module. From the first dataset, I'm going to choose, I have a lot of columns. Those that are from interest to me are, let's launch the column selector and see. Of course, the user ID, the latitude and longitude, the interests, personality, and the budget they have to shop. I can select more than those or less than those. There isn't a limit. It depends on what data I have for the coffee house feature data. So let's select the coffee house feature data. I'm going to launch the column selector as well. I'm going to choose the place ID again, the latitude and longitude, the location, the price, since I have added the budget and the users, and the dress code. So I have selected all my data. The next step is to drag a train Matchbox recommender module. Here I see multiple inputs. If we add the mouse to the first input, we see that the first is the training dataset. It requires the training dataset. The second requires the dataset of user features. And the third requires the dataset of item features. So we are going to drag and drop the selected datasets in those inputs. And at this point, I'm going to run my experiment and see that everything runs good so far. To run, we can choose run from the bottom menu. Okay, when I see a green tick, it means that everything is running smoothly. Great, so I can continue building my model since everything seems okay. So I have the train Matchbox recommender. I have used a subset of the coffee house ratings and the user and coffee house features. But now I have to score this recommender model I have created. So I am going to use a score Matchbox recommender. The score Matchbox recommender has even more inputs. The first is the trained dataset. The second is the dataset to score. And then the user features and the item features. So we're going to go from this split data and take the rest of the first half of the data came to train the dataset. Now we're taking the rest of this data and adding it to the data to score. We're going to connect the output of the trained model to the first input here, and then we're going to connect this dataset here and this dataset here as well. We're going to choose the item recommendation from rated items. So we're going to leave it here as is. We're going to use the default numbers in the train Matchbox recommender. We're going to get 5 recommendations for each user. We can play with those values as much as we want. So we have built our experiment. Now we're going to choose run again. See the results. So everything runs smoothly as I see. Now we can see the results. We're choosing to see the scored dataset, visualize. And here we have the recommended restaurants for each user. So that's it. We have built our model and created the results.